Fighters, how are we all doing? So in today's video, what we're going to look at is how to properly do a weight cut and how you can actually prepare your body to be in a safe and good position for when it comes to making weight for your fights. Now, a lot of fighters will use the wrong methods, and that's exactly why I'm making this video, to give some proper solid education. Now, let's just first start off by giving the actual term of a weight cut. A lot of fighters, I'll hear them saying, oh, right now it's time to start cutting weight, I'm going to cut my weight down. And they'll say this like as if it's like weight loss, so they'll say like, I don't know, a month, 2 months before, they'll say, right now it's time for me to start cutting weight. Now, you should never mix up the terms weight cutting and weight loss, because weight loss refers to losing body weight, usually from adipose tissue, which is, you know, body fat, fat stores. So that's one method that we would use to lose body weight. We'd also lose a little bit of muscle mass when we're losing weight as well, and we want to try and sort of minimize the risk of that happening. However, when we've got actually a weight cut, what this actually means is, and the definition of this is, an acute rapid weight loss strategy where we're manipulating your total body water to make weight for your fights. Now, usually the way that this would happen is, especially with the fighters that I'm working with, and the way that you should be doing it is, you should have a 10 to 12 week period of fight camp where you're focusing first of all on looking at your body composition. You want to be getting your body weight down where you're like 10 to 12 or even 10 to 13% body fat, so you're in a position where you're already relatively lean. The reason why is because, let's say for example you've got a bit of excess body fat, then you know, okay, we can spend this 10 to 12 week period to take down as much of our body weight as we can from them adipose tissue stores, the fat stores in your body, and then we can understand, right, well, if you've got a little bit remaining weight, let's say for example it's 2-3 kilograms, we know that it's only going to be remaining body water. Now, when it comes to your total body water, it's made up of different things. So obviously the human body is mainly 60 to 70% body water, depending on the size of the individual and various other different factors, like a fighter who's got more muscle mass is going to carry more water retention and sort of things like that. But the way we've got to do this, right, so we've just covered in the first step, so we're going to try and get as much of your weight down from adipose tissue and fat stores, and then we're going to get you to a position then where we need to decide, okay, what's actually left to remove from your body. Now, the process that we would use now is we would get around 2 weeks before you fight, let's say 7 to 10 days out, and then what we're going to do is we're going to look at how much you are above your fighting weight. Now, what we'll start off doing first is around 7 to 10 days out of this period, we'll start with what we call glycogen depletion. So we're depleting your body's carb stores slowly and gradually, because it's going to take your body a couple of days to actually fully deplete your carb stores. Now, the reason why we're going to do this is because glycogen is basically a stored form of carbohydrate within your muscles. So glycogen is multiple strings of glucose, again carbs, which will attach to water. So usually for every molecule of glycogen, you're going to have 3 molecules of water, and that's going to compromise a massive amount of your body weight. So like I said, what we're going to do is we're going to start this step off first. So as you can see, this is all done gradually. So what we're going to do is we're going to first look at how far above you are of your body weight, and then what we're going to do is we're going to lower your carbs out around 7 days out to 150 grams, or if you're a bit heavier, we'll do 10 or even 12 days out. Sometimes we'd actually bring it down to 125, 130 grams of carbs, but usually 150 grams is still a relatively low carbohydrate diet, and you've got to understand, the more you lower your carbs, the more you're suffering your performance, and the more you're running the risk of fatigue and fast, which is obviously what you don't want. You're going to be minimising this state that you're fatigued and essentially dehydrated as well. Now, that's the first step that we're going to do. But what we should have actually already done is, in the beginning of your, well, not in the beginning of your fight camp, but halfway through your fight camp, we should have slowly introduced what we call heat acclimation. So what heat acclimation basically means is gradually exposing your body to heat stress. Now, the reason why this is important to understand is because what you've got to realise is that when you're doing a weight cut, as I've just mentioned previously, what you're doing is you're basically dehydrating your body, you're getting rid of that excess fluid. And imagine that you just did a weight cut on the week of the fight, and you just chucked yourself in a sauna, chucked yourself in hot bath, started wearing a sweatsuit. Your body would be quite stressed out with it, wouldn't really like to do it, because your body wants to maintain your core body temperature, usually about 37 degrees, and you run the risk of overheating if you just jump into these methods. So what we want to do is we want to gradually incorporate some sweating methods into your training, not 4 or 5 times a week. Sometimes we'll do 1, then we'll do 2, maybe 3 times a week. So you want to be doing things like train with a sweatsuit on once a week. You want to do things like using the sauna and maybe using the hot bath. So we're going to gradually incorporate this so that your body is then accustomed and understands how to regulate your body temperature better, and that's going to be much more safe for you, and you're not going to have any risks of overheating or heat related illness on the week of the fight when you do a weight cut. So let's just go back, because we can go off a bit of a tangent there. So when we get to the week of the fight, we're then going to look, right, so we've done glycogen depletion, what's left, we're going to look at how far above you are of your fighting weight. Now usually with the fighters I'm working with, on a day before weighing, I like to keep them at a range of between 3 to 4 kilograms maximum, because what you've got to realise is that, yeah, you've got this day before weighing, but the more you're dehydrating and the more carbs you're depleting, guess what's going to happen? The more you've got to put back into your body. So we want to minimise that as much as possible so that we can maximise your performance, because the main priority is how you perform during that fight, how your energy levels are, how your power is, and how long you can last in that fight, repeating these high intensity efforts. Really important. So like I said, what we'll do is on the week of the fight, let's say, for example, you're in a position where you're 4 kilograms above. What we will do is we'll then start to use the acute weight cutting strategy. So usually we'll start off from the Monday by doing a water load. And what we'll usually do is, the way that I do it with my fighters, I either do 75 mils per kilogram from Monday to Wednesday, and then restrict on the Thursday to 15 mil per kilogram, or I'll use 100 millilitres per kilogram from Monday to Wednesday, and then I also use the 15 mil per kilogram. And what we're doing here is, with the water load, we are teaching your body and tricking hormones. So you've got 2 main hormones in your body. You've got one called aldosterone, which is really important for regulating sodium absorption in your body, and then you've got one called ADH. Americans will call it vasopressin, but antidiuretic hormone. That's going to regulate your urine output. So we're trying to trick these hormones. So essentially what happens is we temporarily increase your fluid intake. Let's say, for example, we use 100 mil per kilogram, so you'll start drinking excess water, and what that's doing is it's tricking your body and basically saying, right, we're taking in all this fluid, and then it makes your body think that you need to get rid of even more. So then what happens is you sort of get rid of all that fluid, and you pee it out and sweat it out, which is a very effective way to lose body weight fast. And then what happens is when you get to the Thursday and you're restricting your fluid, your body still thinks that it's still going to start getting rid of that fluid. It's not going to stop, and it's like a bit of a delayed response. So what we'll do is we'll do that with a water load, okay? And then what we'll do is we'll make some changes to your diet. So we've already done the carb depletion and lowered your carbohydrates, but what we'll do is from the Monday, I would usually take it from 50 to 75 grams for the fighters that I'm working with. Again, the more weight you've got to lose, the lower the amount of the carbs you're going to go with. So what we'll do is we'll go lower carbs from the Monday. We'll then lower your fibre intake from the Monday, so we're going to lower your fibre to around 10 grams. That's going to get rid of any undigested food within your gastrointestinal tract. So basically, when you eat fibre, your body is what we call an undigestible carb. Some parts of that fibre will remain in your digestive tract, which will make you weigh more, so we'll get rid of that. So we've got enough time to basically clear all the gut content, the food in your digestive tract, like I say. And then what we'll do is we'll wait 2 to 3 days from your fight, from your weigh-in, and then we'll reduce your sodium intake. So we'll start taking salt and sodium at your diet. Usually about 500 to 1,000 milligrams is a low sodium diet. And the reason why we do this is because what happens in your body is wherever sodium goes, water tends to attach to it and follow. So if we can get rid of that sodium, we are going to get rid of and basically let loose of any extra water retention. So that's really important to remember. And a lot of fighters will make the mistake and take the salt out like 8 days, 9 days before, eat like more than a week before the fight. And you don't necessarily want to do that. You want to try and minimize that period that you're depleting it, because you run the risk of, again, dehydrated and putting your body into a negative sodium balance, which is what you don't want. So you need to follow it like that. What you'll also do is on the week of the fight, starting from the Monday, so around 4 or 5 days out, you are going to reduce your total meal volume, and we've done this already from reducing your fibre, your carbohydrates, your sodium. But what I mean here is you're going to reduce the weight of the foods that you're eating. And the reason why we'll do this, because what we're trying to think is every gram of food you eat is going to equal a gram on the scales. So if we can minimize the weight of your food, guess what's going to happen? Whilst you're still training, and when you start sweating, you're going to weigh less. It's going to be much easier for your body to weigh less. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to eat less calories, because a lot of fighters think that, oh, when you're trying to eat less, you just eat less food. It doesn't mean that we eat foods which weigh less, but we're still keeping the calories high, because we're not trying to sort of induce a negative energy balance, a calorie deficit. We're still trying to keep your calories at like a maintenance level, but just manipulate your total body water through these mechanisms that we've talked about. Now, the last thing I'm going to cover is actually training and sweating on the week of the fight. This is where a lot of fighters will go wrong, and it's really important that I cover this in this video. So like I say, what you wanted to do is your training camp will be very intense, 10-12 weeks, up until the week before the fight. Now, you'll have done the heat acclimation as well, where you've incorporated the saunas and you train with a sweatsuit. But what you're going to want to do on fight week is, and your coaches are going to take you through this as well, you want to taper everything down. You want to start bringing down the intensity, because guess what's happening? You're reducing your food intake, and you're also using weight cutting methods. So that means that the intensity of training needs to come up. The way you've got to look at it is eat more and you do more. Guess what's going to happen? You need to increase your training volume. But when you're reducing your food intake and you're increasing, strenuous methods, then you reduce your training intensity to basically try to match them out. So what you'll do is on the week of the fight, you want to keep it light, touches on the bag, maybe shadow boxing. You want to be doing like just light methods, even active walking, which is really good. And you want to be minimizing this period that your body is dehydrated. So that's basically like the weight cutting methods from dehydration. So usually what we'll do is, like I say, on the week of the fight, from the Monday up until the Wednesday, we're doing everything nice and light. We might go for a jog in between here and there. But what you want to do is on the actual day before the fight and on the morning, the weigh-in, that's where you're going to actually start using the more aggressive methods, such as your sauna, your hot bath, and you're going to look at using the right protocols for that, because you're going to minimize that period that your body is dehydrated. Now, hopefully you're going to be in a position where you don't have to do these weight cutting methods, because if we can avoid using a hot bath or a sauna, guess what? It's not going to run the risk of your body overheating. So that's the way I would usually like to do it with my fighters. And usually if I'm making changes to diet and the water loading and some light sweating methods a day before or on the morning, the weigh-in, that is usually really good for helping fighters getting on weight and doing it in the safest and most effective way possible. And then what it comes down to then is the last final part. You make the weight, and then it's about rehydrating and refueling. So what we're going to do here is, when we focus on what we're doing after the weigh-in, rehydration is the number one priority. So what we're going to do is we're going to work out a 150% fluid replacement protocol. And the way this is done is by working out what you've lost during your weight cut on fight week to your fight weight, and then you're going to times that by 1.5 to get that 150% fluid replacement. But what you're going to do is, you're not going to start getting all this fluid down you like that and rushing it because you're thirsty. Listen, I understand that, but you've got to understand, imagine giving your body all this fluid when you've not been having it and you've been restricting it for a while. Not going to go down well. You're going to run the risk of what we call hypernatremia, which you're going to deplete even more sodium from your blood, which is not good at all. Very dangerous, and I've seen some really nasty side effects of this, or even death. I've seen seizures, I've seen death, so we don't want to have this happening. So what you're going to do is you're going to slowly incorporate this fluid, and usually what we'll do is we'll focus on getting your fluid replenishments met, but we're going to do it at a rate of 1 litre per hour. That's usually a reasonable amount which your body can actually take in, because if you just drink more fluid, what's going to happen is, again, you're going to deplete more sodium from your blood, hypernatremia, and you're not going to take the fluid in properly. So it's all about getting the right amount of electrolytes, so your sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, the main electrolytes, mainly sodium, and you want to be getting the right amount of fluid. You want to be getting your creatine, your quick-acting sugar, to make sure that your body holds on to this fluid rather than just drinking plain water, because drinking plain water isn't necessarily hydrating your body. So we're going to do that, and then what you're going to do is you're going to start to incorporate carbs into your diet, because we want to replenish your glycogen. It's going to take your body around 24 to 36 hours to replenish your glycogen stores, okay, to synthesize them carbs back into your muscle to give you energy for your fights. So what you're going to do is, usually with the fighters that I'm working with, we'll probably go around 8 grams to 10 grams per kilogram of body weight, again depending on how much you've cut. I like to use 10 grams per kilogram. It works best for my fighters. They've always got energy and it's a really effective way to replenish your carbs. So we'll do that, and then we'll gradually incorporate solid meals. Don't start eating a Nando's or a kebab or a burger straight away. Your body's not going to be able to tolerate. You need to hydrate your body, you need to lubricate your stomach. You need to understand that this fluid and hydration is really important for digesting and processing nutrients and actually utilising them and metabolizing them in the right way. So what you're going to do is you're going to start off first with liquid carbs and sweets. So I'm talking Gatorades, Lucozade Sports, sponsor drinks that we have in Thailand. And you're going to gradually incorporate, like I say, these sweets. You're going to incorporate your rice cakes, your toast with jam, your toast with Biscoff, light fruits. And then when you've got later in the day, when your body can handle it, you're then going to start eating bigger meals like your pesto and pasta, maybe your peri-peri chicken and rice. I'm just trying to think of some more examples. You know, your pasta and tomato sauce, your bagels with banana and Nutella. And you do things like this gradually, and you don't just jump straight into it. You've got a step-by-step method. I can guarantee you're going to make weight much more easier, and you're going to have maximum energy levels, and you're going to perform well in your fight. So listen, if you like this information that I've given to you in this video, and you want some more nutrition and diet tips for combat sports, MMA, boxing, Muay Thai, just like this one, don't forget to give me a subscribe to my YouTube channel. But for now, take care, and thank you for watching the video.